We're going live with fan base perspective here for Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. I want to thank all the guys that have already commented on this particular live stream. We're talking a little bit about LSU going into this weekend, arguably one of the biggest games of the season for Auburn and LSU. And it's usually a big game anyway, definitely big for the fan base, definitely big for the SEC, and right now for the country in general, because there's a lot of teams that really are going to be cheering for Auburn down in Baton Rouge this particular weekend. We got Devin Dawson on the line, one of our regulars here on Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Going to help us out with a little bit of a fan perspective as it relates to Auburn going into this game. And this is one of those, this is one of those games where we feel that Auburn definitely really needs to win this game, especially when you talk about solidifying the legacy of Gus Malzahn and to really get the fan base back in gear and back to trusting what Auburn has to offer as a football program, because all the other programs are doing it. You can talk about the basketball team that went to the Final Four. You talk about the baseball team that went to the World Series. So now it's Auburn's time to step up. Devin Dawson, what you got to say, man?
Yeah, like you said, basketball Final Four, baseball Sweet 16, equestrian. I mean, we're out here doing it, man. The football needs to step up. Had a championship in 2010, went back in 2013, came up short. 2017, one game away from the playoffs. I mean, I think we have a legitimate shot, but we got to get through Death Valley.
And see, that's the biggest thing. LSU not covering Anthony. Now, that's the thing about Auburn, had a huge opportunity to get themselves to the point where you're talking about Auburn at elite status, have an opportunity to win the championship in 2010, and then possibly winning it again in 2013, something unprecedented in Auburn history, being able to not only win a national championship in 2010, the first one since 1957, and then being able to possibly win two within a 3-year span. There were actually a couple of players on Auburn's team that had the opportunity to actually win 2 national championships during their time at Auburn, which would have been huge, but surrendering the game within seconds left. And now we are here with Gus Malzahn, who's averaged an 8-5 season during his tenure there and has really been a source of disappointment for the Auburn fan base. And I think a lot of folks are coming into this game, especially Auburn fans, are coming into this game with a little bit of anxiety because they feel like that disappointment is about to happen again.
I can agree to an extent, but you can't count Auburn out. I mean, we have athletes just like LSU has athletes. We've won big games on the road. A&M, for one example, field in Jerry's World, biggest stadium in the country. I mean, we've been through adversity. We lost to Florida, but, that's also a hostile environment. Good preparation for Death Valley, in my opinion. So, I mean, both seen it all. This team's seen it all. And like you mentioned, half these guys on this team have been through it before. I mean, they've played in all these big games. This is nothing new for half of these guys. We need the freshmen and the sophomores to step up that may not have seen these types of environments as much. But I mean, we've been here before, and we've almost beat LSU 2 years in a row, which came down to a game-winning field goal, and then just absolutely blowing it in 2017. So it's not like they're running away with the ball game. We've been in these games.
And that's the thing about this Auburn and LSU game that makes it so unique, especially when you look at media outlets who are, basically saying, this is going to be a 10-point game. They're looking at. Now, here's what I'm thinking that they're mainly looking at. Now, this has nothing to do with to discount LSU and their progress as an offense. But I think we're going like way outside of the spectrum when we talk about LSU having such a unique offense. This is a unique offense for LSU because they've been relatively lethargic for the past few years. So of course, any type of offense that shows the type of potency that LSU has shown is really going to get us in gear. Like, damn, man, these guys can put up points. They put up 66 points against Vanderbilt. They put up 42 points against Florida. Like, these guys literally cannot be stopped. My only objection to that is Kevin Steele. Kevin Steele has not allowed but about an average of about 19 points since his arrival at Auburn. So what do you think about how Kevin Steele, as a fan or as an analysis of the game, because you have a lot of great insight, especially when it comes to recruiting, how do you feel that Kevin Steele will approach a game like this?
Kevin Steele's going to have a plan. He always does. It's always a good plan. Can we Did we get cut off?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're back on. I thought we got cut off.
Yep.
But yeah, Kevin Steele has seen anything you can throw at him. Can we execute? And thus far we have. In Florida, we lost. We executed on defense besides, 2 plays? P. Ryan got shut down. Trask really wasn't all that. His numbers were a little inflated. But the way I think, like you mentioned, we put a secondary player at linebacker for coverage. I can see a little bit of that. I see Pat, taking on more receivers, like slot receivers. We cannot let KJ Britt get in a mismatch. We cannot allow that to happen again. I see us running, maybe a little bit of bump and run. Hopefully, haven't seen much of that. More press man, maybe some zone over the middle. Because we're going to get after them. We can rush 4, we can rush 5. We're going to get pressure. To make throws and force Joe Burrow into making some decisions. Dropping some zone. Disguising, throw corner blitzes. I mean, with a guy that poise, you have to take him out of his comfort zone. You have to hit him early. He needs to make mistakes early. Because once they get rolling, it's over. Unless our offense just comes out on fire, which has not been the case in big games. And, I mean, there's that.
Now here's the thing, and you talk about offenses that get rolling and get off to fast starts, especially when you talk about LSU. You talk about teams like Alabama, who have the capability of, throwing the slant route. They have the type of receivers that can make big game-breaking plays. I look back at the Auburn game from 2018, the first half. The first half, Auburn really made Alabama earn it. And what I mean by they made Alabama earn it is the fact that they made Alabama sustain drives. In the first half, Alabama scored 17 points. In those particular drives, and that's the reason why the game was still manageable, Auburn actually, for the first time the whole year, held Alabama to where they had 2 consecutive 3-and-outs, which I thought was unprecedented for that particular time. But what Auburn did in that particular game was they made Alabama sustain drives of about 5 or 6 plays or more, which ate up about 4 minutes of clock. But then you have the second half, where you have every Alabama touchdown drive was a 40-plus yard play on average or more, but it happened in less than, say, a minute and a half to 2-minute span. And that's going to be the key to this particular game, to where if Auburn allows LSU to get the quick drives, we know LSU is going to score. That's something that's a given. We know that Joe Burrow is going to be relatively successful. But how do you manage that success is going to be very key to how Auburn either wins this game or at least is able to stay within striking distance to have a chance late in the fourth quarter to possibly steal this game away.
I would also like to say, we touched on Kevin Steele. I can see, maybe disguising some blitzes show them blitz, drop them back in zone over the middle, cover up that slant, maybe pick one off. Hopefully, you know, I see a lot of zone over the middle coming in this game.
Let's see, if we're going to win, our front four is going to have to get Burrow and create turnovers. If we can do that, I like our chances. Vernon War Eagle. That is from Ray Snow. And when you think about games that Auburn has been very successful this particular year, there were turnovers that were created early in the game, and then you have some that were created early in the second half of the game. What I'm referring to as far as the turnovers in the early in the second half was the turnover against Spiller against
Right.
Texas A&M that set up a touchdown in plus territory. One thing that I've liked about Auburn is their ability to create turnovers in plus territory. Had two of them against Arkansas, and definitely will have to do that against against the LSU. Now, if we think about Alabama from back in 2017, when Auburn was able to win that epic 2-game #1 team 3-week span, that's something that they did against Alabama. They created turnovers early in the football game, and it gave them the opportunity to steal the upset. So I do believe that Auburn is either going to have to win the field position battle, or they're going to have some turnovers to help supplement what they're able to do.
I would like to add on that. Yeah, turnovers are nice. I don't think we have to get turnovers. I think if that front four can at least pressure him most of the game, I mean, we're dropping back what, 6, 7 in coverage. I mean, I like our odds. If that front four can get pressure on him without having to blitz, I like our chances.
And that's definitely a thing too, because most teams who have played against LSU, they've had to sell out in the blitz, and then that leaves them vulnerable in coverage. And I think Auburn has the opportunity, especially when you look at what Auburn has been able to do as far as from a reserve standpoint as well. You think about even games against Oregon, you had Roger McCreary, who had a chance to get some playing time. Owen Pappo, obviously the 5-star recruit out of the 2019 recruiting class, in the starting lineup. So a lot of young guys have been able to get some reps and be able to put themselves in position to where they could possibly shine in a game like this, which I'm really excited about. And a lot of people are discounting the depth that Auburn has coming into this game. You're not going to be able to tire these guys out. Kevin Steele is going to be able to make the adjustments to where I don't feel like Kevin Steele is just going to sit there on the sideline and allow anybody to score 40 freaking points on him in any game.
No,
I don't give a damn who you are.
No. And you mentioned depth. Our depth in the secondary is unreal. You mentioned McCrary, hell of a player. And, that's just to top it off. We have guys all over the place. We have guys that haven't even played that I think are very capable. A true freshman, 4 stars, absolutely capable if needed, barring the risk of injury. But you got guys like Jordan Peters who have out of Muscle Shoals, where I'm from. He's had a hell of a career at Auburn thus far. I've been very impressed with him. Hasn't really played a whole lot. I think he got injured or something, maybe at the beginning of the season or maybe in the spring. But, I think he's done very well at the safety position.
And the thing about Jordan Peters, he's done a very good job in special teams as well. I think he's had a couple of block punts in his tenure. Yes. He's been a very good supplement for Auburn to really make some great things happen. So yes, I'm really excited about.
If I'm not mistaken, he had 3 block punts last year.
Yeah, and he's
mistaken.
Yeah, and he's made some really key plays this season as well in a supplementary role. And like I said, a lot of people too, especially if you've never played sports before, and I'm not discounting or really doubting anyone's knowledge of the game just because they didn't play sports. But when you played football or basketball or baseball, it doesn't matter what level you play on. When you're playing against your rival, that brings out a whole different level of emotion. That brings out a whole different level of urgency. Absolutely. So I expect in this particular game, both coaching staffs on both sides to understand the urgency of this game. Not only is this a heated rivalry, but there's a lot at stake. You're talking about playoff implications. You talk about the first, portion of the elimination of the SEC West here.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's a lot at stake to where you kind of at times you might have to throw out everything that has happened up to this point and realize that these kids are going to be putting it all on the line this week.
Absolutely. Yeah, this could be an elimination game for either team, especially for Auburn.
Well, it's definitely going to be an elimination game. I'll say this: all but an elimination game for Auburn because they already have a conference loss.
It is
That's one of the reasons why I was a little on edge and a little a little on edge and a little disappointed that we lost to Florida because I thought that was a game that we could win, but
we're a better
B,
team than Florida.
yeah, I just really thought that was just a missed opportunity because you just gotta know that Auburn is probably not going to win every game between LSU, Georgia, and Alabama. So I just thought the Florida game was kind of a very, very tough loss for Auburn to take.
I like to say this: are we going to win all those games? Probably not. Are we capable? Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think we're capable of winning those games as well. And a lot of folks, and see, this is where I come in, and this is where guys like you come in. The mass media at times they don't take the time to really dissect the totality of circumstance. One thing that's a little bit different for Auburn is the fact that for the first time, I think in as far as I can remember, Auburn is really deep on this particular team because a lot of folks don't realize, well, hey, Boobie Whitlow is out, but man, you got like 5 running backs that can take on his
Very,
role.
very capable. I mean, look at true freshman DJ. I expect him. In my opinion, I see Cam Martin leading the way, but I think DJ Williams is your second tailback, and I think he's going to be very productive. LSU, if I'm not mistaken, got a couple guys back on their defensive line. Supposed to be fully healthy now, but I've been very impressed run blocking with our offensive line the past few weeks. I look for us to try to run the ball, establish the run, maybe throw some short passes, hit some bombs with Schwartz, Stove, maybe get Hastings involved. I'm hoping we don't see that very predictable Malzahn offense. I don't think we see that.
At this point, Gus Malzahn really can't
You
afford.
can't see that.
You just can't do it at this point. I mean, it's just really not a point to where it's a point of no return. I don't know if he's been hiding plays or saving players for games, but at this point, this is the one where you got to put it all on the line. I want to thank Derek Freeman for the $2 super chat, man. Much appreciated, War Eagle. I want to give a shout out to Roz Life. He says that improving running back. I love it. I'll tell you what about this running back thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm very impressed with Boobie Whitlow. I think Boobie Whitlow really exceeded any expectation that was thought of him. You're talking about out of Lafayette High School, a 2A school out of East Alabama, had committed to Tulane, and in the midnight hour, Chip Lindsey said, hey, man, we want you to come to Auburn. So he comes to Auburn, turns some heads during the offseason in preparation for the Peach Bowl against UCF. And lo and behold, we have Boobie Whitlow as the starting running back. Now, I never had an issue with Boobie Whitlow as the running back. I just personally didn't like his style of running the football. I tend to like guys who have been seasoned and who have been trained as running backs, like DJ Williams, Harold Joyner, Cam Martin, Sean Shivers. These guys attack the line of scrimmage, and I think if this thing works out the way that I feel that it can, I think that Auburn's running game can actually be just as effective or maybe even more effective in Boobie Whitlow's absence.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, what quarterback in high school? I mean,
yeah, he was a dual threat quarterback. Very good one, actually.
Yeah, but we need guys that are natural at the position. I mean, Boobie's had fumbling issues that may be due to. I don't see those problems with Cam. I don't see those problems with DJ. I mean, DJ's a hoss. I think he's the best running back on the roster right now. Just my opinion. And I think he should be guy number one. But knowing Malzone, he always likes to lead with the experience, the upperclassmen. It's going to be Cam, Chavers.
And that's one thing about Gus Malzahn. Sometimes he, kind of gets into his comfort zone. Want to thank Scorpio in the squad for the $5 super chat. Man, that is absolutely phenomenal. And we're talking about Tank Bigsby. Somebody mentioned Tank Bigsby, Auburn League. Let's see. Just can't wait until Tank Bigsby gets to Auburn. I can't wait until he gets there either. Let's see what else everybody out here is talking about. Auburn has to make it.
He's been flirting around.
Well, verbally he says he's committed. And that's not only just on paper, but he constantly talks about how he his loyalty of sorts to Auburn. So I'm hoping that stays intact because we definitely need a guy like him to continue the quality at running back that we're starting to see here going into this LSU football game, and the rest of the moving forward for Auburn.
Yeah.
But Tank Bigsby's if Tank Bigsby,
I think his Auburn 100%. But I mean, look at George Pickens, same top deal.
Yeah,
you've seen who what was it? Desmond Tisdale. I can't remember what his name.
Yeah,
the 5-star linebacker flip or decommit.
Yep.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah, you just never really know how where these guys what these guys are thinking. Want to thank Sammy for the $3.99 super chat. Thank you. This for me this is, I guess you could consider it hard, but it's really easy and at the same time because I would have been talking about Auburn to somebody anyway, so I might as well talk about it to you guys, especially for you guys who don't live in the Auburn or the Alabama area anymore. So that's definitely something that one of my driving points as to why I started this particular channel. I want to thank Devin Dawson for tuning in tonight. We're going to finish up here on Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Got another comment. Got another comment from, let's see, who is this? Louisiana Banks. A guy in here said, play zone. Well, you're asking Clyde Edwards-Helaire to Clyde Edwards-Helaire to gas you for big yards. Is that the case? Now, don't get me wrong. I really feel like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is very capable. And he's very strong at the point of attack. I don't think you can just sell out totally on the pass because Clyde Edwards has shown a high level degree of capability in the run game for LSU. And I think that could definitely be a factor going into this particular game. I was very impressed with what he had been able to do in very limited action because of the success of the passing game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has not been asked to do much for LSU. But honestly, if somebody was going to beat me, I'd rather it be Clyde Edwards-Helaire than that onslaught of receivers that are at LSU. So, but anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning into the Fan Perspective live stream here for the Auburn, Vernon Speak Sports Auburn, previewing the Auburn versus LSU game as we have been doing all week. Glad to have Devin Dawson stop by. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.